So what about the future? Well, I think there's a range of things which are going to describe the future. Number one, neuroscience is going to take on in a major way. Today we know that 85% of everything you and I do takes place in our non-conscious part of the brain. That only leaves 15% to the conscious part. Today, 85% means that we had to do 85% non-conscious research. But the reality is we're doing zero. And that's going to be a huge shift, going from quantitative and qualitative research techniques to non-conscious research techniques, most likely using neuroscience and other non-conscious research techniques. That is a huge change in our industry. The second chance we're going to see is that the ownership of the brand is going to go from me as a marketeer to the consumer. That means they're going to build the brand, they're going to spread the word of mouth around the brand, they're going to make sure the brand will grow because they have an interest in doing that. Now this is an enormous shift because it means the marketeers are going to learn to let go of the brand and ask the consumer to run with it instead. And if they're not doing that, what you'll see is the brand will struggle to survive because in the future it's the consumer owning the brand, not you. The third point I think is important to say is that I do believe that advertising will migrate from television to not just online but also to computer games. I do predict that within 10 years the computer games are going to be one of the biggest advertising media in the world because more and more consumers are playing computer games. In fact, did you know that today the biggest audience basically playing computer games every day is actually women from the age of 35 years of age? That means, or that gives you an idea about how powerful this media is and therefore how obvious it is to embed product placement and other types of non-conscious clues into computer games. Well, the advice I would like to give to Russian businessmen is point number one, everything should be surrounded around the brand. And that means the way you employ people, the way you build your brands, the way you build your products, the way you build your services, everything should surround around the core essence, which is your brand. That's number one. Point number two, you need to educate your internal people in understanding the concept of brands because few companies in Russia really gets it. That's my experience. So the more you educate the teams in understanding the latest and the greatest from the world of branding, the more powerful it will end up being. And there I do feel that Russian companies are lacking behind at the moment. It's almost like, no, they know already what this is all about. It's all about a great logo. No, it's not. It's much more than that. And that's exactly what I'd like to focus on next time I'm visiting you guys in Russia. Well, branding has nothing to do with a price point. Well, of course it has when it comes to a low discount airline company like EasyJet or perhaps some other chains which are focusing only on price. But if everyone in the whole world is focusing on price, I don't need to tell you there's no differentiation. Brands is all about the added value, the emotional connection you and I make between the product or the service and myself as a consumer. And the better you are creating that emotional connection, the better the consumer will feel this product or service is and the more they're willing to pay for it. So how do you get around this? It's very simple. You use storytelling, you use the senses, you use non-conscious communication, and that's exactly what I'm going to tell you about when I meet you next in Russia. I think the biggest mistake Russian businessmen are doing are to focus on the logo only. And the more they focus on the logo and thinking that's the brand, the more they're losing. Because it's nothing to do with the logo. Branding and powerful branding is all to do with creating emotions and really, really strong emotions. Then it may be you end up with having a great logo. But guess what? If you look at the Coca-Cola logo and you've never seen it before, it's not beautiful. Yes, some logos out there are beautiful, but they're not successful because of the logo. They're successful because of all the emotions surrounding the logo.